Good evening and welcome to Talk and Roll. I'm Bob Boyer. Tonight on Talk and Roll, it is part two of our look at garage bands via Boston, the Boston Bay State sound, I guess you could say. And to tell you more, here's Paul Gangle.
Yes, we're in part two of what we call the garage music sound, Bay State rock and roll. And we dragged all the way back down here, Moulty from the Barbarians and George Denham from WATD to help us with this part two of the series. George, my first question is the phrase garage rock. Who coined that?
I don't know who coined it, but I'll tell you, it was amazing because garage bands, that's what it was.
Oh, yeah.
People, kids in their backyards, in their garages, twanging on the guitar, beating the heck out of the drums and just doing songs, doing a lot of cover songs from some of the groups that are out and trying to do their own original songs and stuff like that. And when you were a garage band, people not only in the neighborhood could hear you, but people downtown could hear you. And it was a true, raw, musical sound of guitars and drums at the time.
And my next question would be, you know, that when people bandy about that phrase and stuff, everybody talks about L.A., Cleveland, New York. They forget about Boston.
They do forget about Boston. We had some great groups here.
Yeah, we certainly did. And the one we saw a couple of weeks ago, Moulty here, had a great one, the Barbarians, but there were other ones.
There certainly were.
George, you were in one.
I was in a group called the New Breeds, and we did fairly well. And Moulty and I talked about this a lot, and I haven't talked to Barry about it much because I haven't seen Barry, but Moulty and I talked a lot about Moulty would be playing here, would be here, and then Barry would be here and would switch in different venues in Boston.
And you guys were based out of the North Shore, right?
We were based, actually, I was from Woburn at the time, Winchester, and the rest of the guys were from Waltham. And we were just a band that just got together and had a lot of fun and made a lot of noise and played a lot of places and stuff and the whole thing. So we did our thing, played big venues, played small venues or whatever, just like everybody else did.
Right. And I wanted to start with the Rock and Ramrods, which opened for Moulty in one of your gigs, right? They opened for you?
At the Surf in Nantasket.
At the Surf in Nantasket
They were the
Beach.
house band.
Yep, they were the house
good
band.
too.
Yeah, Nantasket Beach, Hull, Massachusetts, Paragon Park, the amusement park, which is no longer there. It's a condominium complex. But George, the information we got in late 1962, Freddie Cannon was the guy that got a hold of these guys and kind of took them under his wing. Right?
He did, and then they started off and started doing very, very well. Ronnie and Vinnie Campisi were the brothers in the group, and they ended up being later on, after the group split, ended up being a group called Puff on MGM Records.
Right.
And then one of the Campisi brothers ended up being doing some photo work and stuff like that, and the other one ended up being with Warner Brothers Records and did a great, great job there. And
now, Freddie produced their first song, and it was an instrumental, right? Jungle Call?
Yeah, Jungle Call, yeah.
Freddie produced that, right?
Yeah.
And now,
Freddie recorded a couple of songs in that label also, by the way, too, yeah.
And that label?
Was it Color Gene or something like that, or whatever? It's a red label.
Explosive label, was it?
It was Explosive and the Color Gene label. But that was on Explosive, you're right.
Right,
yeah.
and then the next, after Jungle Call, they had a song, She Lied, and it was on a Bon Bon label.
I have that record, it's red.
That's Freddie's label?
Yeah.
The Bon Bon label?
Yeah.
Okay. And they had a bunch of hits. They did a song the Beatles did, or the Stones, I Want to Be Your Man. Is that a...
that was actually written by Lennon and McCartney, but the Stones did it also.
Yeah.
And I'll be on the other side of it was another Beatles tune also. That was on Plymouth Records, I think, or something like that. So.
The Rock and Ramrods, you said the Campisi brothers were in the band. I can't find any of the other members here offhand, but oh yes, I do. I've got a guy by Bill Linnane, and supposedly these guys were out of the West Newton area in Boston, in Massachusetts, West Newton, and the drummer was I can't think of his name, but anyway. Don't Fool with my Fu Manchu on Claridge.
Right.
Flowers in My Mind on the Plymouth label.
The Plymouth label.
Is that a local label?
Yeah, that was owned by the people down the Surf.
And Bob,
Flowers in My Mind. That sounds like it might have been a psychedelic one.
But the big
Yes,
song,
it was.
the big song,
too,
which we're going to show, was Bob. Why don't you set this clip up by talking a song called "Play It," which was on the Claridge label also, and came out of a movie, Bob.
Discotheque Holiday from approximately 1966. Freddie Cannon was in it. The Vagrants with Leslie West were in it. And what it was they spliced together footage from an earlier film, a British film with The Bachelors and Freddie and the Dreamers, etc. And they shot the Rock and Ramrods footage was shot at the Surf Nantasket. And Ani Woo Ginsberg, another famous
Sure.
DJ, I'm sure Moulty remembers Ani.
yeah.
He was in the film and he did some introductions too.
He's still around today, isn't he?
Yeah, he called us. He was supposed to call us a few weeks ago at the station. He was up in Maine, but he had to do a thing. But he did call in to say he couldn't, he couldn't be on the air. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
So, in living color, here is the Rock and Ramrods with Play It. I'm wondering, back in the old days, did you play Boston Garden at all? Did you play there?
No.
Didn't do the
We
Boston
played
Garden?
Suffolk Downs.
Suffolk Downs. Who was on the bill with you there?
The Glenn Miller Band.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they opened up for us.
What was that?
Happened a lot in those days.
Wow.
Happened a lot. You didn't know who.
The crowd must have been unbelievable.
I can't even picture this, man. I can't picture
No, this is not.
No.
Who opened for
Tell me
who?
more.
Orchestra. They were playing there, and then when we came on, of course, there was chaos. Always,
Chaos from what, though?
The Glenn Miller Band. I said, oh, okay.
It must have been like a second shift thing. All the old folks left and the kids came.
Don't ask. No, they were all kids there, going nuts. They.
How on earth did they sit through? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's bizarre.
That big swing sound.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's bizarre.
Unreal. Well, that's what it
You
was
play
like
when you
during
play.
the days.
You play when you play.
That's
That's
They
it.
happened a lot of. We played with
Yeah.
some kind of a band that was in another world. They opened up for us. Oh, okay. Right.
In Another World was the name of the band?
Oh no, they'd be in another world. Yeah.
You never know with band names, you know,
I know,
today
right.
and yesterday. But your album on Loy Records, the Barbarians album, nowadays is worth, was it a pretty penny, they say? Yeah, it's worth a lot of money. I'm sure it's on eBay.
original,
It was
yeah.
reissued, as you know, on CD by, I'm not
Yeah.
sure who issued it on
Rhino.
CD.
Capital did
Rhino? Was it
Kaplan Rhino.
Capitol did it through One Way Records, and
Yeah.
then the latest one that just came out was on Sunday's Records.
Yeah, great label for reissues.
Yeah, they are great.
They're a tremendous label. I think, Moulty, you might hold some kind of record for the only band ever to record a song called Linguiça. Now, how did that come about? That's so ethnic here. How did
Well,
Linguiça
that's,
come about?
Yeah, that was an old Portuguese song.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Portuguese
I didn't know
town.
that.
It's a melody, you know, and public domain, and we just named it Linguiça
Yeah.
because
I think the first or second time he came up to the radio show, he said, "Can you play that?"
I said that.
You did.
Yeah.
And I said,
Oh,
"Play what?"
boy.
He said, "Can you play that?" Okay. So we played, and I says, "Yeah, this is pretty good, Moulty. Not bad at all."
Was that song? Did you sing that? Paul, you said that Moulty sang that on one of the shows, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Sing
suppose.
what?
Was it
No, they
instrumental?
didn't sing it. No,
Played it, not sang.
did you
There's
do
no-
that on
it's
Hullabaloo?
instrumental.
Was that the song that? No, they didn't do that.
That wouldn't make sense. Yeah.
See, that's why it's good to have the
real
deal down here
to set the record
to
straight.
rebut the
right.
information we're pulling off
Yeah,
the
well,
internet.
Paul was telling me that he heard Linguiça
Yeah.
was played by
Yeah,
the
it's
Barbarians, but
yeah,
that wouldn't have
yeah,
made any
no.
sense because it was instrumental anyway.
right, yeah.
But anyway, let's get into some of the other bands that were instrumental during this period of time, mid-'60s, early '60s to mid-'60s, that were forming the Boston sound, because these bands, along with Moulty's bands, were laying the groundwork, the foundation for the sound today, like bands like Aerosmith, Boston,
Sure.
Jay Giles. Those guys didn't pop up from nowhere.
they didn't. They had to-
No.
They
had
had to listen to music
these
from
guys
before, right.
paved the way. They
sure did.
toiled and went through all the hard, rigorous touring and stuff like that, and then drawing all the producers and stuff into this area to look at the bands, and then, you know, they had to get a start somewhere, and it was right here.
Yeah.
There's a guy we want to talk about, Tommy Salem, who started with a band called the Chessmen.
Yep.
Turned out to be a producer. He was actually the lead vocalist in this group, right? The Chessmen.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, they put out a song called Sorry on G Clef Records, right, George?
Yep.
And then It'll Be Me on the Samovar. Oh, that was a backside. It'll Be Me on the Salem label,
Which was
he
his
formed his
label,
own
yeah.
label.
What kind of music was that? I don't. I missed that.
Again, there was garage type sound.
Sorry
stuff.
was?
Yeah.
Because there was a song the Easy Beats did called Sorry. Can't be
Yeah,
the
but
same
that's not
one.
the same. No,
No, I
that's
didn't
not
think
the
so.
same one. No, but no, they were part of the big scene also, and of course Tom Salem ended up being the owner and runner of Rockamania Records out in Framingham, Massachusetts.
Right.
And what a great store he had. But they were forerunners also. There were, people forget about Boston. People forget about the music from Boston, how it got started. And it was like Moulty, it was obviously Tom's group, also Teddy and the Pandas.
Barry and the Remains.
Barry and the Remains, the Rock and Ramrods. We can go on. There was the Mods, there was the Pilgrims.
Improper Bostonians?
Improper Bostonians was one of my favorite groups, and the whole thing. So we had our own form of garage band sounds, and it did very, very well.
And this guy, Tommy Salem, came down to the Taunton area and found the Vikings, another band that was playing in the area, a local band. He became their producer and manager.
Yep.
And
they did pretty well around here too.
They did a killer version of Blue Feelin' by the Animals. They did a great version of that.
yeah, they were basically doing a lot of covers by the Stones, like your band was doing,
yeah,
right?
we were
Everybody.
too.
Everybody.
And
yeah.
everybody was too. Yeah, everybody's doing the Beatles. Everybody's doing the Stones, but we did the Stones stuff that people didn't hear type stuff. But that's okay too.
Yeah, the Vikings were led by a guy by the name of Freddie Garcia on lead vocals, and I guess the guitar player was Tom Mulcahy. Basically, I guess the story was that a couple of those guys got inducted into the Army, went to Vietnam, and
That's all
basically
she wrote.
and that
Yeah.
was all she wrote for those guys.
Yeah.
And supposedly they were on a verge of a deal with Decca Records, and that's kind of an unfortunate thing.
They were too, and of course, the improper Bostonians who are on Minuteman here. They had signed a contract with Decca too for a couple of records also. So they were on the same vein. I think Decca was trying to pick up as many sound-alike groups as possible. Sound like the British sound.
Now, you're just talking about the improper
Yeah.
Bostonians. They were played at the Ebb Tide in Revere Beach, supposedly,
Absolutely.
on
yeah.
Minuteman Records.
How many
Dick Jeffrey
tiers?
on lead guitar, I guess,
Yeah.
was the main man here. They supposedly they had a sound like the Byrds. They were doing a lot of that
Set
kind
Me
of
Free
music.
This Time.
Yeah.
They covered that. That was a Gene Clark song from
Okay.
the Byrds.
Okay.
What song was that?
Set Me Free This Time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was their
Great
second
one.
single.
But how many tears was just a great.
That was their
great
first
tune.
on Minuteman.
Yeah,
How Many Tears?
Yep.
And then the one you just mentioned, Set You Free This Time,
Yep.
on Minuteman. The third on Minuteman was Out of My Mind. And the fourth is a song called Gee, I'm Gonna Miss You. It was on the Choral label. So
Right. Decca Choral, yeah.
Decca,
They never-
connect with the Decca people.
They never
yeah.
cut an album then, right?
No, they only had 45s.
Yeah, that was the way a lot of times, wasn't
Well,
it?
the other group, Teddy and the Pandas, they came out with an album. They had
Tower Records.
they came out with an album, which was a subsidiary of Capitol Records, put together by Lenny Pizzi, who was part of the Rondells with Backbeat #1.
Okay.
And the whole thing, but they ended up on Musicore, which was a major label. Not the Tower wasn't, but they ended up on Musicore, which was a real big label at the time too.
Gene Pitney was the
He was the
leader of
mainstay.
that one.
He was the mainstay of that label, but they had some great stuff out too.
Yeah, now, George is talking about Teddy and the Pandas. They were, let me see what area they were
From
from.
up in the Beverly area.
Beverly area, right,
Right,
okay.
yeah.
Now, their main man was a guy by the name of Teddy Duart,
Yep.
lead guitarist. Was he the singer also?
Yeah.
The guy? Did he
Yeah.
write a lot of the songs too, George?
I'm trying to remember. I can't
Yeah.
remember that,
Their first song was Love Light on the Timbri.
but I think that was kind of a local type
label.
Yeah. And then the follow-up was on a New York label.
Once Upon a Time on Christine.
Yeah, yep.
Upon a time, the sun used to shine in this heart of mine. We used to walk in a warm little world of our own, holding hands we could conquer alone. once upon a time. Well, that little girl was mine. That was once upon a time. Oh, can you see now what that little girl is doing to me? She is making me live in the past when our love was as high and as free as the sea. But that was once upon a time. Well, that little girl was mine. That was once upon a time.
Yeah, we always liked Barry and the Remains. They were good.
Barry and the Remains were on Epic, so they got a major,
major right up
major
the
label
chute,
there.
yeah.
They went on. Their claim to fame for the most part was they toured with the Beatles on their last tour in '66. Barry Tashin, that's his name. He has written a book, and he went on to work with Graham Parsons of the Byrds. He went on to work with Emmylou Harris. I guess he presently does country and country music with his wife Holly.
Yep.
They write a lot of songs. Bob's talking about Barry Tashian, the founder of the band, Barry and the Remains. They basically played out of the BU college area, right? And supposedly they were one of the first rock and roll bands to play at the Rathskeller, which was kind of like a...
That we played there too. That was down the cellar. That was unbelievable.
The thing about that, it turned into a punk venue, but before that it was just for...
It was basically really nothing.
crap music, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
Barry went down and became the house band down there, right? That's where they got their start. The other member of the...
But that was the place to play though, in
the
Kenmore
Rathskeller,
Square.
yeah.
That was the, if you played there, that was the start or whatever. You know, whatever.
Around what year was this? You're talking around whatever, I should say.
That was 65. Yeah, 65. Yeah.
What was it called in '65? The Rat?
It's called the Rathskeller, and
Really?
then it ended up being the Rat. You get on
Yeah.
cellar and you'd be seeing all these water pipes and everything
Yeah.
going across
Yeah.
the ceiling. Whoa, we're playing here. Oh yeah, we're playing here.
Barry and the Remains also had a lot of TV exposure, like Moulty and the Barbarians. They were on Ed Sullivan, and they were on Hullabaloo. I think in a minute or so we're going to show you the clip of Barry and the Remains from Hullabaloo. But what were you going to say, Paul?
I just got to tell you about the lineup. The two guys, the main clog of the band, Barry, lead guitar, his sound on lead guitar, and Billy Briggs, the
Piano player.
keyboard player, excellent keyboard player. That's the sound. That's the Remain sound. And the drummer was Chip Domani. They were from Connecticut. Barry was from a Connecticut boy, right?
Yeah.
And the other guy, Vern Miller, the bass player, was from New Jersey. So guys from Connecticut, New Jersey, but they were a Boston band.
Boston-based band, yeah.
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 And wow, why don't you set up the clip we're going to show of Barry in the Remains?
This is Barry and the Remains from, I believe, '65 or '66 on NBC's Hullabaloo doing a song Diddy Wah. Was it Diddy Wah or Diddy Wah Diddy?
Diddy Wah Diddy.
Because I always get it confused with the Man for
Diddy
Man.
Wah
It's not
Diddy.
the
Yeah,
same song.
right.
And they also had another song, "Don't Look Back," which was an incredible.
Great song. Yeah.
It's up there. It's up there.
Why do I? Why do I cry?
Why do I cry?
Yeah.
Great
It's up
song,
there
too.
with "Are You a Boy and Are You a Girl" for being like a punk garage band. It's another classic. But anyway, here's Barry the Remains with Diddy Wah Diddy. No, what was it? Diddy Wah Diddy.
Diddy Wah Diddy Wah Diddy Wah Diddy.
Yeah, it just goes on. Diddy Wah Diddy.
I got a little girl who's sweet as she can be. And I know she belongs to me, yeah. She don't come from no town, she don't come from no city. She live way down in Diddy Wah, Diddy, Diddy Wah. Yeah, Diddy Wah. Diddy wah, diddy diddy wah. Got to go to diddy wah. Yeah, diddy wah. Yeah.
That was Burying the Remains.
Did he or did he?
Did he or did he, yeah.
Yeah, and interesting enough, if you're interested in this band, you can go to their website, just Burying the Remains. They got a brand new CD out called Moving On. I'm not sure what label. It's a new label. Maybe it's Barry's label.
Might be his, yeah.
But Barry's in Nashville, but I'm sure he's going to be coming back to promote this thing. And the word is out on this CD is that this is like the old sound back again. Barry did a great job on it, and I can't wait to hear it. I haven't heard it yet. But,
Maybe he'll come circle.
Yeah, I hope so. Hope he comes to
Get him out here.
WATD.
Get him out here
yeah.
again, too.
Get Moulty to make the call and get Barry up
Yeah,
here, right?
right.
Yeah,
Multi, do you play every once in a while? You play?
Yeah, I play a lot.
yeah,
Sure.
Play a lot of gospel music.
yeah. Really?
So you didn't do any of the old songs at all? Just do you do
I play.
a little bit of this
Not
and
like
that?
I used to.
No.
I'm not out there touring like this guy
No.
wants me
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah. Now, the Ramrods we were talking about earlier, now, when they faded out, were they the band that formed Puff? That
Group called
yeah,
Puff. The Campisi brothers were on a
Yeah.
label called MGM.
Uh-huh.
And I got the 45. Not too many people have it, but when I talked to Ronnie a couple of times, because he worked for the record industry, and so did I, he says, "You got that record by Puff?" I says, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, it's a little bit different than the Ramrods."
Spelled differently, though, right? It was spelled P-H-U instead of...
I'm trying to remember how it was spelled.
It wasn't spelled like
Right.
we know Puff.
Yeah,
right?
right.
Now, were they doing the same kind of a sound, or did they change their sound?
They were
like-
trying to change.
Yeah.
They were trying to change, and I guess MGM thought that it was going to be something, but it really didn't turn out to be anything.
MGM was the label that was behind this, I guess you could call it, hype. Around 67, 68, the Boss sound.
Yeah.
And every band that was part of this quote-unquote Boss sound was on MGM. It was the Ultimate Spinach. It was the Beacon Street Union.
Right.
And
John
it
Lincoln
was
Wright.
Puff. Tell us about that.
That was really in the psychedelic era. I mean, that was unbelievable. The thing about that music was you either liked it or you didn't like it. But there are a lot of people out there that did like the psychedelic sound. And when you see the album covers, some of these album covers were really, really weird. Really weird. But MGM thought that they had a gold mine in the sky.
So they were pretty much exploiting it. It wasn't like, it was MGM went looking for these groups in the area in Boston and
Yeah.
put them together and packaged them as a certain thing. Is that
Yep.
how it worked?
That's
back then?
exactly how MGM wanted to do it, yeah.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember they got written up in magazines at the time, I guess, were hip like Rolling Stone, but, and they just said it was a bit of a scam or whatever. And none of the bands really made it that
No,
big.
Ultimate Spinach.
Yeah, at this time, we talk about the Ultimate Spinach and those bands. The sound, I guess, was changing.
Chocolate Watch Band.
I think
Yeah.
the West Coast psychedelic sound was starting
That was starting to make the big move.
coming back east
Right,
here.
moving east, right.
And so we had the bands, the Tea Party.
That was the
yeah.
big place, though.
And another place that now is the WBCN studios, the Old Brown Derby or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is the same location as WBCN, and you had the Ultimate Spinach playing there. I think the Improper Bostonians were playing in there.
Everybody played there.
One thing.
Both of those places.
George would know. What was the name of the Jay Giles band before the Jay Giles band? I
The
can't
hallucinations.
Exactly.
Multi said
Thanks,
it.
Multi. Yes, it was the hallucination.
They were
I just couldn't
great.
remember the name.
Really?
They were great. Yeah, they really were. They were.
Was that
great.
Giles basically Jay Giles?
I don't
band?
think so. I
No,
think
That was Peter with his own group.
I think I heard a song on WBCN in the early '70s from Peters, and it was nowhere like the
Oh,
Jay
it
Giles
wasn't the
sound.
Jay Giles.
No, it was a great song. I
Did you
have it
do
on
any
tape
singles?
somewhere.
Did they record anything?
Joe Bladd was the drummer.
Well, I have it on
Peter
tape
was
from
the singer.
BCN, so they recorded it on something. I don't know if it was.
Did they ever release singles? You guys know?
I don't
I
remember.
don't
no.
know. I don't know.
remember it.
All I know is they were really good.
Yeah.
And then Joe Bladd and Peter Wolf met Jay Giles and someone else,
Right.
and they became the Jay Giles band.
Right.
And I found them rehearsing in a studio down in Provincetown, my hometown. They were rehearsing there, getting the Jay Giles band thing together.
Big sound, yeah.
Yeah, and you had bands like Orpheus.
Yep.
I can't find the time to tell you. And believe it or not, folks, it was a
They
number
were from
one
Worcester.
hit.
They were from Worcester.
Well, from Worcester.
Yeah.
A number one hit, not in Boston, not in the United States, Hawaii.
Yeah, right.
Wasn't that right, George?
It's part of the United States,
Unbelievable.
but that's
I know.
far away.
Well, now it's part of the United States, but geez.
I didn't realize how many songs that group had.
Yeah.
They had enough for 2 CDs.
They did a couple of
I'm
albums.
saying, you got to be kidding me. I
They did
didn't
a couple
realize they
albums,
did that many tunes.
And,
you still hear that on a lot of stations.
Yeah,
Do
you
you play
do,
that
yeah.
one much?
We don't know.
Yeah, just because it gets
And-
played.
and
a
the-
lot.
It's a boring song.
Just a love song, yeah.
Yeah.
Ladies'
Well,
It's
choice.
nice. It's nice. And the other one, I don't want to forget this guy, who's right in the middle of all this, John Lincoln Wright.
John Lincoln Wright,
He was a
yeah.
college student, and he formed the Beacon Street Union.
That's right. We had John Lincoln Wright down in Scituate a few years ago doing mash sound stuff, country stuff, and the whole thing. And He was excellent. He was really,
Yeah.
really good.
Now, the story goes is that their first song was a song about a death in Cleveland Circle, about a stabbing, and the writers in Rolling Stone magazine trashed it and basically killed the band. They did, you know, because the song was kind of a morbid theme to.
Beacon Street?
Yes, the Beacon Street Union did a song about
What is it, the Clown of Marvin Gardens? Is it
No,
that?
that was their first LP was just the blue lights of the Beacon Street Union, I think, and
But the Marvin Gardens, that was a
very
biggest thing.
strange album cover, which Bob and I are going to talk about when we do our classic LP show
Yeah.
later on.
You'd have to talk to John Lincoln about those things.
Yeah.
Those are way out there.
Unbelievable.
Can I just want to mention the ladies because I want to mention the
Oh,
Frauleins.
yes, yeah.
I think we'll use this camera
I have
here.
the 45. I know I have the
Meet the
45.
Frauleins. I don't know if you can
Yeah.
get a shot of that. I don't know if it's... There you go.
They were on
Frauleins.
Onyx. They were on Onyx label.
They're on the Onyx label. They were from Methuen area.
I have the record.
And the drummer is Linda Murphy. She's a friend of mine. And they did this incredible song called... What was the name of that song again? I forget.
I don't even know. I haven't looked at the 45 in
The
years.
record is right here. I should know these things. Oh, it's not on that album. Okay. But anyway, they did a very strange number. And it was like a folk rock song. It sounded like a normal folk rock song. And all of a sudden, there's this spoken word about, you have been found guilty. Basically, the song was about Salem witch hunts.
Oh,
So it was a pretty wild number. It's on a compilation album of dubious origin, and it's right there. It's the Girls in the Garage, that right there.
There were
They're on that
girl
album.
garage bands out, but not
Yeah,
there.
because we don't talk about women in rock bands too.
Well, the
too often.
Pandoras from New Hampshire, they were
Yeah.
part of the scene a little bit.
When
too.
were they out? What around?
Right around the same time, probably around 65, 66.
Because you'd have female singers, but you wouldn't have like full bands.
Right,
but
and they played their own instruments
that's
too.
great.
Yeah, yeah.
Did they release anything?
Yeah, they did. They had a single on Liberty, which I have.
That's right. They were from New
Yeah.
Hampshire. I have that
Yeah.
record. I didn't know they
Yeah,
were from New
yeah,
Hampshire.
that was the group. Yeah. Yep.
Well, we're rapidly running out of time here in part 2 of
This is
Bay
crazy.
State
This is
Rock,
unreal.
Garage Rock and Roll, and it's been fun. Thanks for coming down, Moulty. Legendary drummer from the Barbarians, Moulty. George Denham from WATD. I'm Paul Gagel from Talk and Roll.
I'm
And
Bob Boy. It was a pleasure to have you folks come down.
Thank you.
Our-
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure too.
thank you and good night.
Never will. You're mine. It's now or never. If you give your love, gotta be forever, forever. Wait. Got to understand how much I need. I've got to make you understand. I know you understand how much you understand how much I